The security camera feed on my tablet showed Michael trimming the hedges outside what used to be his dream home. Even from this distance, I could see the bitterness in his movements as he watched another luxury car pull into the driveway of Reynolds' estate, my estate now. "Ms. Reynolds," my assistant Emma's voice came through the intercom. "Your brother is requesting his monthly meeting." I touched the faint scar on my temple, a permanent reminder of the day Michael showed his true colors. Deny. He can submit any requests through the grounds maintenance supervisor. 3 years had passed since that day in Mom's hospital room, but I could still hear the sound of his fist connecting with my face, still feel the cold floor against my cheek as I lay there, blood mixing with tears while he ransacked Mom's belongings. "Where's the ring, Sarah?" he demanded, turning over drawers and emptying boxes. "That ring is worth a fortune. Amanda needs it for the wedding." Amanda, his now ex-fiancée who had convinced him our mother's vintage diamond ring was worth hundreds of thousands. The same Amanda who left him the moment she discovered the truth about our family's real wealth. But that day, all Michael saw was his chance to give his demanding fiancé the ring she wanted. He didn't know Mom had already given it to me, along with her most precious secret. "The ring stays in the family," I told him, my voice steady despite my fear. "Mom made me promise." The second punch came faster than the first. When I regained consciousness, the ring was gone from my pocket, and Michael was speeding away in his BMW, thinking he'd won. He didn't know the real treasure wasn't the ring. It was the tiny key hidden inside the false glass stone. A key that would lead me to a safety deposit box containing documents about our family's hidden fortune. Now, 3 years later, I sat in what used to be our grandfather's study, watching Michael through cameras he didn't know existed. The mansion he always bragged about buying someday was mine, along with the Reynolds family investment empire he never knew existed. My phone buzzed. A text from our Aunt Patricia. "Michael came by again, begging for money. Says you're being cruel making him work as a gardener." I smiled grimly, remembering how he had mocked my horticultural degree years ago. "Plants are for poor people," he'd sneered. "Real success means corner offices and business suits. Tell him the position comes with free housing in the staff quarters," I texted back. More than he'd get in prison for assault and theft. The criminal charges had been my bargaining chip. Work as estate staff or face prosecution, his choice. He chose the job, probably thinking he could somehow work his way back into the family's good graces. "Ms. Reynolds?" Emma appeared at my door. "The Historical Society is here for the tour. Should we redirect them from the garden path?" "No." I stood smoothing my designer suit, the kind Michael used to wear before he lost everything. "Let them see all of it. Every rose bush, every perfectly trimmed hedge. My brother does excellent work." The society members gathered in the grand foyer, their excited whispers echoing off marble floors. This mansion had been in our family for generations, but few knew its true history. Grandfather had kept our wealth hidden, building an empire in secret while maintaining a modest public facade. "Ladies and gentlemen," I addressed the group, "welcome to Reynolds Estate. Our gardens are particularly stunning today, thanks to our dedicated groundskeeper." Through the window, I could see Michael pause in his work, watching as I led the group. Many of them his former country club friends through his perfectly manicured domain. "Sarah." A familiar voice made me turn. Amanda stood among the society members, dripping in obvious knockoff jewelry. "I didn't know you. When did you inherit everything?" I finished for her. "Around the same time you left my brother over a glass ring." She flinched, her eyes darting to Michael outside. He was deliberately facing away now, his shoulders tense under his work uniform. "If you'll follow me," I continued addressing the group, "I'll show you the rose garden. It's our groundskeeper's specialty, though he once claimed gardening was beneath him." The tour continued, each stop carefully planned to ensure Michael could hear every word about the wealth he'd lost, the status he'd thrown away for a fake ring and a false fiancé. My phone buzzed again. Mom's nurse this time. "Good day today. She's asking about Michael." Mom had recovered eventually, only to find her son gone and her daughter in possession of the empire she and grandfather had protected for so long. She cried when I showed her the security footage of Michael's attack, finally accepting the truth about her beloved son. "Tell her he's working," I texted back, learning the value of things he once despised. A commotion outside drew my attention. Michael had thrown down his tools, trying to approach the tour group. Security moved swiftly, surrounding him with practiced efficiency. "Just let me explain," he shouted. "Sarah, please, I was desperate. Amanda needed a rich husband." I cut him off, my voice carrying across the manicured lawn. "Now she knows you were never going to be one." Ironic, isn't it? The society members whispered among themselves, remembering how Michael used to boast about buying this mansion someday. Now they watched him being escorted back to his work, their pitying glances worse than any punishment I could devise. "The roses need attention," I called after him. "The Historical Society expects perfection." The annual Reynolds Foundation Gala was the perfect stage for Michael's complete humiliation. As I descended the grand staircase in a couture gown, I caught his reflection in the polished marble. He stood in his maintenance uniform, adjusting flower arrangements he'd been ordered to tend throughout the evening. "Ms. Reynolds," Emma appeared at my elbow. "The hedge fund managers from Singapore have arrived, and your brother is requesting to wear a suit for the event." "Denied," I said, watching Michael's reflection flinch. "Staff uniforms are mandatory for all service personnel." The ballroom sparkled with old money and new technology. Guests who once knew Michael as a wannabe socialite now walked past him without a glance, treating him as invisible as any other servant. "Sarah, darling." Aunt Patricia's voice carried across the room. She was escorting an elderly gentleman I recognized instantly, James Morrison, Michael's former mentor and the man who had rejected him from partnership at his firm 3 years ago. "Look who I found." Michael dropped a flower stem, his hands shaking as Morrison approached. "My dear," Morrison kissed my cheek. "I had no idea the Reynolds empire was your family's. Your brother used to speak of buying shares in our firm, but he never mentioned." Because he didn't know, I smiled deliberately loud enough for Michael to hear. Grandfather believed wealth should be earned, not inherited. Michael failed that test rather spectacularly. Morrison's eyes flickered to where Michael stood frozen, then back to me. "The partnership position is still open, if you're interested. Your family's backing would be..." "Sarah," Michael's voice cracked behind us. "Please, just 5 minutes." Security started forward, but I held up my hand. 3 minutes, in the study. The room grandfather had loved so much now served as my office. Michael stood awkwardly by the door while I sat behind the massive oak desk. "You knew," he accused. "All those years, you knew about the family money." "No," I touched my scar again. "Mom gave me the ring the day before you attacked me. She said it was more than it seemed. I didn't understand until I found the key inside the glass stone." His face contorted. The ring was fake. The diamond was glass. The key inside led to everything else. Documents, accounts, properties, grandfather's real legacy. I leaned forward. "The legacy you could have shared if you'd chosen family over greed." "I can change," he whispered. "Give me another chance. A real position in the company. Like you gave me a chance in the hospital." I pressed the intercom. "Security, please escort Mr. Reynolds back to the flower arrangements. They need refreshing before dinner." As they let him out, Morrison entered. "Fascinating strategy, my dear, making him serve at his own downfall." "Justice comes in many forms," I replied, rising. "Now, about that partnership position." The gala continued in full swing. Michael moved between tables with fresh flowers, forced to hear snippets of conversations about deals he could have been part of, wealth he should have shared. "Sarah," Amanda's voice surprised me again. She stood with a small group of socialites, all wearing real jewelry now. "I didn't realize if I had known about the family money, you'd have stayed with Michael?" I finished. "Interesting. He's single now, and comes with staff quarters." She flushed deep red as those around her tittered. Michael, passing with a vase, nearly dropped it. "The thing about real wealth," I continued loudly, "is that it shows us who people truly are. Money doesn't change people, Amanda. It reveals them." Later that night, as guests departed in their luxury cars, I found Michael sitting on the garden steps, his uniform stained with water from countless vases. "Morrison offered me partnership," I said, standing over him. "The position you wanted. Going to take it?" His voice was hollow. "No," I watched his head snap up. "Because unlike you, I built something of my own. This empire. I've tripled its value in 3 years, without violence, without stealing from family." I said I was sorry. "No," I cut him off. You're sorry you lost everything. There's a difference. I started up the steps, then paused. The east garden needs weeding tomorrow. Start at dawn. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. Coming to visit next week. Should I bring his baby pictures for the library wall? No, I typed back. Let him watch other families' histories decorate these walls. He chose his path. Through the security feeds, I watched Michael trudge to his staff quarters, a small room above the garage. Once he had dreamed of sleeping in the master suite. Now he could see its lights from his window, a nightly reminder of what his violence had cost him. Sometimes revenge isn't about causing pain. Sometimes it's about ensuring someone faces themselves in the mirror every morning, remembering exactly who they chose to be. And Michael had a lifetime of mornings ahead of him. The morning of the merger announcement with Morrison and Associates dawned bright and clear. I watched from my office as Michael meticulously trimmed the topiaries, unaware that his former dream firm was about to become part of the empire he'd lost. Ms. Reynolds, Emma's voice held a note of urgency. Your brother left this in the mailroom. She handed me an envelope addressed to James Morrison. Inside was a desperate plea, photographs of us as children, medical records citing his stress-induced temporary insanity during the ring incident, and a pathetic letter claiming I had manipulated our family's legacy. He tried to send copies to all board members, Emma added. I smiled, touching my scar. But they all came to you first, didn't they? Of course, as per protocol. The intercom buzzed. Ms. Reynolds, Mr. Morrison and the board have arrived. Perfect timing. I stood smoothing my designer's suit. Have security bring my brother to the main hall. It's time he understood exactly what he lost. The great hall was filled with board members and press when Michael was escorted in, still in his gardening uniform, dirt under his fingernails. Sarah, please, he started, but fell silent as James Morrison approached. Michael. Morrison nodded coldly. Your sister was just about to announce the merger. Fascinating how life turns out, isn't it? I stepped up to the podium, cameras flashing. Ladies and gentlemen, today marks the union of the Reynolds Empire with Morrison and Associates, a partnership that will revolutionize. She stole it. Michael's voice cracked through the hall. That empire was meant for both of us. Security moved forward, but I raised my hand. No, let him speak. Let everyone hear. Michael stumbled forward, pulling out crumpled photographs. We were supposed to share it. The ring. I made one mistake. One mistake. I turned to face him fully. Show them your hands, Michael. He looked down at his dirt-stained hands, once manicured and soft. These halls, you clean them. Those gardens, you tend them. This empire, you watch it grow without you, all because you chose violence over family. I was desperate. You were greedy. I cut him off. And now you're exactly what you always looked down on, someone who serves those you once thought you'd rule. The cameras caught everything, his trembling hands, his stained uniform, the stark contrast between us. Tomorrow's papers would complete his humiliation. The merger proceeds, I announced, turning back to the crowd. And my brother will continue his valuable service to the estate. Later, I found him sitting in the garden he'd so perfectly maintained, staring at the mansion's reflection in the fountain. You know what's ironic? I said, standing behind him. Mom's ring wasn't just hiding the key. It was teaching a lesson. Grandfather left clues about the fortune with both of us. You just never looked past the surface value. He looked up, realization dawning. The cufflinks he gave me for graduation contained a similar key. I nodded. But you pawned them for Amanda's engagement party. Tears streaked his dirty face. I could have had everything. No, Michael. You could have had family. The wealth was just a bonus. I left him there, reflected in the water like a ghost of his former self. My phone buzzed, Morrison confirming dinner plans to discuss the merger. Through the security feed, I watched Michael return to his quarters above the garage. Tomorrow, he'd wake up and tend the gardens again, watching others live the life he had thrown away. Some would call it cruel, making him serve in the house he once dreamed of ruling. But sometimes the best revenge isn't punishment, it's making someone tend the dreams they can no longer reach. And every flower he planted, every hedge he trimmed, was a reminder of the brother he'd chosen not to be.